And I literally threw away a 4-year ride scholarship to Pittsburgh Art Institute because I had joined the Marine Corps my summer year, my junior, senior year.
Yeah.
My art teacher submitted an artwork to Pittsburgh Art Institute. Come into school, within a month or two later, I get a letter saying, hey, I got accepted to scholarship, and she helped me write the refusal letter so I can continue joining the Marine Corps.
Welcome to the Warrior Rising podcast. I'm your host, Benjamin Bunn. Warrior Rising is the premier veteran transition organization specializing in helping veteran entrepreneurs find their purpose. We have self-paced modules on education for how to create your own business model. Of course, we have continued coaching and mentorship calls, and have recently teamed up with Grand Valley State University for our veteran entrepreneur accelerator program. And of course, for qualified individuals, they have an opportunity to participate in our national business showers. We usually have about 3 to 4 a year where veteran entrepreneurs have an opportunity to pitch their businesses in front of industry experts for the opportunity to receive grants. Everybody gets a grant, but there can be only one, just like Highlander. Some of them get $20,000 to help start the next great American business. I'm here with Frank Manteau. Is it former Marine or is it always a Marine? So I get that. I know it's never ex-Marine.
Exactly. And it's never former Marine. It's once a Marine, always a Marine. So I'm a Marine.
You're a Marine. So I'm here with Marine Frank Manteau, but currently not on active duty. He's a veteran of the Marine Corps. He's here with us today. Frank Manteau has been a longtime participant in the Warrior Rising tribe. He's got a great story, and I want to talk to him today a little bit about both his veteran experience, of course, what it was like to transition, and what it's been like being a veteran entrepreneur, and all the great experiences he's had with Warrior Rising, good, bad, and indifferent. Frank, how are you doing today?
Living the dream.
You're living the dream?
Yep.
Listen, I'd like to start some of these podcasts sometimes with an icebreaker. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah.
Okay, an icebreaker is just like a kind of a way that we can like kind of break the ice. It loosens everybody up, you know? Usually it's a question that will challenge you to think a little bit, but in doing so, right, we learn some of these personal affectations that potentially will help us grow closer together, through spoken word. So the icebreaker today, would you rather fight one horse-sized duck, that's a big-ass duck, or 100 duck-sized horses? The fight is to the death. You may not use firearms. I'll allow a bludgeoning weapon. No blades.
The one duck.
You would fight the one duck?
Yeah.
Really? I want to know more. Why?
Same amount of energy works either way, but the least amount of energy to deal with one than 100.
You don't think that the duck would be a problem? Like, this is a horse-sized duck, brother. You know what I mean? This thing is a monstrosity.
I've rode horses. I grew up around horses.
Have you ever had to beat one to death?
No.
Okay. But I'm saying it would
but it's
be...
a duck.
Okay. Yeah. Look.
Their brains ain't that big.
If this one's larger, it has the power of flight. Listen, but here's the deal. I agree with you. I also would choose the horse-sized duck. The reason being, a horse-sized duck is a monstrosity. There's no place in it in this world. There's no place for it in this world, right? If you were to set one loose in the city, it would be a terror. You know what I mean? It'd have to be put down. Now, conversely, I think there's a place in the world for 100 duck-sized horses, right? Like potentially a petting zoo. Yeah. I think it could be an asset to children. You could set something, you could monetize it. You could charge people to come spend time with these small horses. And honestly, the thought of having to beat to death 100 of these horses individually and having to carry that around, it's like I already got enough trauma. I'm not trying to add to it by beating to death a bunch of duck-sized horses. So yeah, I think we're in agreement on this. I think this icebreaker has done its job.
Yeah.
We're effectively loosened up. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Frank. I know you had an opportunity to serve in the Marine Corps. Tell me what led you to joining the Marines. When did you do it? How old were you? Tell me a little bit about it.
So I grew up in a small town of Ohio called Flushing, Ohio.
Yeah.
Population was 951 folks.
Oh my God.
And I didn't have the greatest childhood growing up.
Okay.
I could tell you everybody that helped outside the home Inside the home, I couldn't tell you shit.
Okay.
And for me, it was being able to have an opportunity to get outside of that area. Wasn't much there going on. Didn't have a good, family sense of connection and everything. And I literally threw away a 4-year ride scholarship to Pittsburgh Art Institute because I had joined the Marine Corps my summer year and my senior year.
Yeah.
My art teacher submitted an artwork to Pittsburgh Art Institute. Come into school, within a month or two later, I get a letter saying, hey, I got accepted to scholarship, and she helped me write the refusal letter so I can continue joining the Marine Corps.
You're not so Frank, this is interesting. I didn't actually know this about you. This is the magic of podcasts, right? It's like you learn things about people. And Frank, I've been around you for about 3 years, and at no point in time did you ever mention to me. And Frank is a big guy. Frank's a large man. He's about the same size, if not larger than me. So when you said scholarship, I was like, oh man, this guy probably had a scholarship playing ball. That's not the case. You had an art scholarship.
Yep.
You were into art when you were in school.
I had the same art teacher from 5th grade all the way to my senior year.
Was it a guy or a gal?
Female.
What was her name?
I called her Ms. Whiting.
Yeah.
Because that's what I knew her as, is Ms. Whiting. And later on, she got married and became Miss Marple.
Yeah.
But I was able to get away with calling her Ms. Whiting all the way into my senior year. And whenever I saw her a couple years later, I still called her Ms. Whiting.
You still talk to her to this day?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get back in touch with her. I know she just retired.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get back in touch with her, let her know that the impact that she had on me has kind of led me to what I'm doing now.
I reckon you should, because it sounds like she's part of your origin story, right?
Yeah.
I would be interested to hear about what that's like after you have an opportunity to reach out to her. So your story is not too dissimilar from a lot of people who joined the military. Small town, needed to get out of there. Most of the people that I was in basic training with were like from Victoria, Texas, or no-name town in Georgia or Ohio, wanted to get out of there. It sounds like you had a tumultuous childhood. I can relate with that as well. When I joined the military, I tell people all the time, I wish I could say it was out of, because I bleed red, white, and blue, and I'm a patriot, but really I was fresh out of options. And this was in the 2000, there was no global war on terror. September 11th had not happened. I just had I had nowhere else to go and nothing else to do. I was near due well as a young man. And my hope was that the military would at least provide me with some resources or assets to make a better life for myself, or at a minimum, honestly, I didn't like who I was and I just wanted to be somebody different. And it was the vehicle for that change. What year was this when you joined the Marine Corps?
It was 95.
Oh, wow.
So for me, it was literally the opportunity of, whenever I enlisted, I was like, I told the recruiter I want to get out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And the recruiter originally had me leaving in August of 95.
Sure.
And about 4 to 8 weeks, I think, I was looking for the last 2 months of me graduating high school. The recruiter called me and he was like, I got some bad news.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? He's like, you're not leaving in August. And I motherfucked him left and right.
Yeah.
And he sat there and took it and he was like, what if I could tell you you're leaving in June? I was like, when?
Yeah.
He's like, June 5th, be at MEPS, June 6th, be it on the plane, June 7th, be on the footprints.
Yeah.
I said, let's do it, because I graduated June 1st.
Oh, nice.
I was like, let's go.
Homeboy showed up on the Marine Corps around the same time that we invaded Normandy. Nice, auspicious. What a great way to start your military career.
There's a lot about my timelines of the history of the Marine Corps.
Very
My
cool.
birthday is on February 23rd. Flag raising of Iwo Jima.
Oh, sorry.
On Mount Sarabachi.
Yeah, sorry. I just know about a bunch of Army shit. So, but that
Exactly.
sounds very cool as well. But I was over here. I was like, oh, so you joined the Marine Corps. It's 1995. Tell me a little bit about your experience in the Marine Corps and kind of how it helped shape and develop you.
I was the type of guy that I went in as Marine Corps Security Forces.
Sure.
So the recruiter suckered me and gave me an option of, hey, there's Marine Corps Security Forces. Granted, I scored a 37 on my, ASVAB, and I was like, all right, Marine
Frank,
Corps.
I'm here to tell you that's not a good score.
I know,
but that being said, and also and you say your recruiter lied to you.
So, exactly.
All right.
I had a C-. I just graduated high school. My senior year, I had 4 classes, so I just wanted to get out of there.
I hear you.
But ended up going over to getting to boot camp, and that's whenever I had that one Full Metal Jacket moment where, they're talking to, ask what your MOS is. And they're like, nope, you're infantry. And that's when I learned that basic security forces, you start out going to do, a chance to do 8th and I or embassy duty or guarding the nuclear decommission of subs in Bangor, Washington.
Yeah.
And then you go to the infantry. You're basically 0311. I was like, okay. Told the recruiter that, the drill instructor, my MOS, he was like, bullshit, you're infantry.
Nice.
0311. And I was like, all right, there we
Now,
go.
in retrospect, you're happy about that decision, are you not?
Oh, I am now because it's, it's the backbone of the Marine Corps.
Yeah, because you get to say that you were in the infantry, and that's the jam. So you go through boot camp, and then how many years did you spend in the Marine Corps?
7.5 years.
7.5 years. What year did you get out?
June of 2001.
Okay, and tell me a little bit what that experience was like for you. I mean, where were you stationed? Kind of what'd you get into? All this kind of stuff.
So after getting out of security forces, went to Alpha Company 1-5. Anybody knows about Alpha Company 1-5 or 1-5 in general, look it up. Amazing unit in the Marine Corps. Then I went and was able to coach recruits on the rifle and that's in range.
Oh, that's awesome.
And to be able to now that I'm out and seeing a lot of these people that are in 20, 23 years, I could have potentially coached them on the rifle range, which is an awesome opportunity. And then I ended my career in Golf Company 2-2 in Camp Lejeune.
Yeah.
I was on base whenever 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
I was literally, and it was ironic with the situation, and some people could say it's a conspiracy theory and stuff. I had went to CAX, which if anybody knows or wants to understand that, it's combined arms exercise, where we all go to 29 Palms, the stumps, one of the worst places in the United States, and we do a live fire exercise. We went in August and we were set to return on September 11th.
Yeah.
We knew that we were coming back on September 11th. All of a sudden, on September 8th, they came to us and said, hey, we're leaving a day early. We're like, all right, whatever, September 10th, we're on a plane, flying back. The morning of September 11th, I was driving through the gate when the radio broke through.
Yeah.
So did we know? It's a question, because why would you change a date on a training evolution in the States?
Hard to say. I will say this, though. Many times the military has changed dates on my stuff with zero to no explanation, and it has never been at my convenience. I can tell you that to a certainty. So you were in uniform as September 11th happened, but ended up getting out shortly after that, by the sounds of it.
Ended up realized that my body didn't want to work anymore.
Yeah.
I went through everything, and we were training to go to Afghanistan, 7-mile hump, and my back gave out. I was paralyzed from the waist down for 8.5 hours.
Ugh.
Found out I had 2 discs degenerated, 1 herniated, both hip displacements.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't let me deploy.
Yeah.
And I had 2 small kids, so I had to make the choice.
Yeah. And, I think a lot of folks in the military, and, it's difficult to be in the infantry. And it's difficult to be in any job in the military, like regardless of if you're in the infantry or you're a fuel handler or whatever the case may be. The military, the Marines, the Army, the Air Force, they all have real specific demands. But I think specifically the Marine Corps and the Army, everybody's expected to be able to carry a rucksack. Everybody's expected to be able to pass the APFT or ACFT and meet those minimum standards. And it's a hard lifestyle. It's hard on the body. So you find yourself transitioning out, right? I'm certain that just like anybody else who was in the military at that time, you were completely incensed. I'm sure you would have volunteered to get on the first thing smoking to either Iraq or Afghanistan, but you find yourself transitioning into the private sector while the nation's at war. Tell me a little bit about what that was like, how that felt, and what your transition was like.
It sucked.
Yeah.
I got out, had a few choice words with the senior enlisted that required me to get an RE of 4, so there was no chance of me ever re-enlisting. And to sit there, and at this time that it was one of the most publicized on the television, the first time ever of seeing actual things happening in combat on TV, just infuriated me that I was not there.
I know.
And to not have the support of a local community because I moved back to Ohio.
Yeah.
I moved back to what I knew, and I was in the process of going through a divorce.
Yeah.
And figuring out what do I do now because I had structure. I went straight from high school straight to the Marine Corps. I had the stability. I had the guaranteed, money coming in. I had the guaranteed roof over my head.
Yeah.
I had the opportunity to provide food for my kids and everything else. And now I'm here getting ready to go through a divorce, trying to, within a year of being out, trying to work 2 jobs, attempt to go to school while fighting for full custody of my kids.
Yeah.
And I walked away from the military community.
Yeah.
And I got custody of the kids, full custody, and just limited resources for single fathers and, not having that band of brothers. I walked away from the military for 13 years.
Yeah. And, when you transition from the military and you talked about loss of pay and not being able to provide, you had acute things, being a single dad, 2 kids, this kind of stuff. And which I definitely, a nod to that. Having spent time as a single father myself, I know it's super challenging, right? Really tough. But when you transition out of the military, you're like losing about 3 to 4 things right out the gate. You lose your job, right? I mean, listen, no other way to say it. You've just lost a job. And regardless if you're transitioning into a new one or not, losing a job is a painful experience, right? Traumatic experience. You have to move, right? Also is like one of the top 5 most rough, moving is stressful. You know what I'm saying? So you lose your job, you have to move, you lose your friends, the people that you've seen every day in, day out for years. And all of a sudden you're just yanked out of that community. And here you are off into the wind. And even if you're moving back to a place that's familiar, I imagine it did not feel as familiar anymore. And then of course, this sense of mission and purpose. And it sounds like you spent about 13 years divorced, right, from the military in large in part, which is interesting because now when I see you, Frank, right, I know you're so proud of your service. It's 100% evident, clear to everybody that you're a Marine, which I love. And of all the veteran entrepreneurs that I've had the opportunity to interact with, you do the best job of really representing your brand in such an honest way. Like every time I see you, you have your bag on. You have a uniform. You have your green shirt. You have your Crayons Ready-to-Eat hat. You know what I mean? You're always willing to hand out a card or a sample. I mean, you in my eyes have embodied what it means to be a veteran entrepreneur as it pertains to the Warrior Rising tribe, because you were just so frequently and like just 100% of the time you're dedicated to your brand. And you just have this attitude of not giving up, and you're so proud of your military experience. And I like that. Like, I love it when I see people who are like, I'm willing to, like, I'm here to promote this brand 100% of the time. And by the way, I love having spent time in service. I love what I did for the military, but here I am out in the private sector. And like, here's this new thing that I'm passionate about, this new job, this new community of veteran entrepreneurs, this new mission, purpose, like all these things. I think it's so important. So I'm sure you spent about 13 years kind of out in the wind and this kind of thing. But I want to hear a little bit about what it was like when you decided to start your own business.
Well, it took me to uproot 2 teenage kids and move from Ohio to California to actually be where I'm at today.
Okay.
And don't do what I did as being a single father, 2 teenage kids, no job, no vehicle, didn't know anybody, and just went to California.
Yeah.
I made it there for 10 years, but I got there, got back into the, reestablishing the workforce. And then I started realizing that corporate America sucked.
Yo, it's corporate America does suck. 9 to 5 is trash.
It was just, it's more or less a lot of these larger companies forget where they started.
Yeah.
They forget where they came from. They forget that they were once that little guy that started the idea to make this, and they started letting other people come in and treating us like a number.
Yeah. And like, listen, here I am saying that a 9 to 5 is trash. It is. It sucks. But listen, like, I love Walmart. I can go in there and get myself some AA batteries, some Pedialyte, and a Lego set for my son inside of a 20-minute window, and I'm out of that place. And it's fantastic. And to have access to that is tremendous. Also, they have like more than 3,800 locations nationwide. You're never more than 30 minutes from a Walmart. Sam Walton is an American hero, and they employ more than 220,000 veterans nationwide. Yep. They are the largest single employer of veterans in the world. But shout out to Walmart. Let us know if you want to sponsor this podcast. Damn. But I understand what you're saying. It's like when you see these large organizations and you're working for the man, so to speak, it's like, damn, what are we doing here? And, you know, and you start to get the idea of like, man, why don't I do my own thing? And is that how Crayons Ready-to-Eat became?
No, it started out as me going into my own woodworking business.
Really?
Yeah. Started my own woodworking business called Kamikaze Woodworks. And of course, me being a country boy from Ohio, I had to spell works WERKS.
Okay.
So I had to add that twist to it. But
nice.
It was there, and because of my upbringing, I made sure I was as much as I could while trying to provide for my kids, be there for them for their events and activities and stuff.
Hey, but good on you, though. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And there I started building. When I started the woodworking business, my son was involved in band, my daughter was involved in choir, and they needed different props built. Well, my son being in band, they had a halftime show, build the halftime show. And he started dating the color guard captain.
Sick.
Which they asked me to build a giant picture frame that they can jump in and out of, very colorful.
Yeah.
Because of my art background, I knew when you glue paper to wood that you were going to have to keep the colors consistent and they want to be vibrant. Watercolors don't work, markers don't blend in together, and crayons is the only thing that will be consistent when you're coloring. So I did crayons. Now, I wasn't called a crayon eater. I started seeing the Marines actually utilizing real crayons in social media posts, retirement ceremony videos and stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, now we're embracing it like true military fashion.
Yeah.
We're crayon eaters. And I sat there coloring, put one crayon in my mouth, started coloring. I literally started gnawing on it. And that's when it hit me. Maybe there's something to this crayon eater nonsense. And as we do in the military, we get, mission accomplished, hyper-focused, and we dive in and figure this out.
Well, and I want to pause just for a second. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to highlight a couple things that I think are so interesting. One, your son's dating the captain of the color guard team.
He's now engaged. They're now engaged.
First and foremost, nice. I dated a girl that was on the color guard team right before I left for the military. I was like working at a bar right before like I shipped off for basic training and all this stuff. Let me tell you, one of the best times of my life. Anyways, I love my wife. But what I think is so interesting about that is you were currently operating in the capacity of an entrepreneur, and you were doing things to help your kids, help your community. And I just think that's like such an incredible and organic way to have like stumbled on to this idea that you had. And, for those of us that are tuning in that might not know this, a lot of times Marines are called crayon eaters because crayons, of course, are these brightly colored children's objects.
It's also that Marine stands for muscles are required, intelligence not essential.
There it is, right? And but it's so funny that you people kind of have this kind of moniker of Marines are saying, hey, they're crayon eaters, and that you really embraced that and kind of turned it into something that was an entrepreneurial pursuit, something, and stumbled onto it as you were currently like operating in the capacity of an entrepreneur, but helping your kids and like helping your community. I just think that's pretty rad. That's a rad way to stumble upon an idea.
While maintaining the day job as well. Yeah. So, the Marine Corps, like I said, the military teaches you to be hyper-focused, looked into things. I started diving in. I was like, is there truly an edible crayon?
Yeah.
Didn't find anything. And I was like, all right, what can we do? And I was like, can we do a chocolate? Now, I worked at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And at that time, I had an opportunity to become the store manager of the store that I started out with.
Yeah.
And I had left for a little bit, took over another store, came back, and the store manager was moving to Kentucky. And he had brought in a couple other team members. And the day that he was leaving and the day that I took over, this team member named Cassandra decided to bring in these homemade peanut butter truffles.
Yeah.
Basically a Reese cup on steroids. That's way better than any Reese cup I will ever freaking eat in my life.
Nice. And everything on PEDs is better.
Yeah. Anything, if she was to make them every day, I'd be happier, but I'd be twice as fat as I am.
Sure.
So I don't. And I had that in the mental Rolodex when this idea happened. This was in 2016 when I met her and was working with her. Knew her work ethic. She was phenomenal. She didn't complain. And her dad was an airborne Army. So it's like he was
love
part of
that.
the 82nd Airborne.
Sick.
So I was like, when I had this idea hit, she's the one that I called and I was like, hey, Cass, have you ever made chocolate color? And then she started explaining this. I was like, no. I want it to write.
Yeah.
She was like, I'll try. 2 weeks later, on September 12th of 2017, she sent me the video of the first CRE.
No joke.
And then it's been uphill from there.
Nice. So tell me a little bit about, so found an outstanding business partner, right? Came up with this great idea. Tell me what your experience with Warrior Rising has been like, and how the organization has kind of helped you, develop both personally and professionally.
So personally, it has given me a major appreciation for a village, the context that it takes a village to make things happen, and having a tribe to support you and to be able to have interactions, not just from the initial interaction to now I'm here 3 years later, still involved, and have people that I can call upon, and knowing that I can share my knowledge that I've learned to those that are coming in is just unbelievable.
Yep.
So when we got introduced to Warrior Rising, we were just coming out of the pandemic.
Yep.
We were not getting any direction from the county of San Diego of what we could do and how to be able to reopen and stuff like that. So we pushed on the endeavors to go nationwide shipping. We started crowdfunding, didn't go as we planned. It was slow. I had transitioned away from the last job, from O'Reilly's to another job, and the owners of that company became friends, and they gave us a $10,000 loan.
Nice.
We were still a little bit over 9,000 short of the funding we needed to go nationwide shipping.
Yeah.
Got introduced to Warrior Rising, went through the Warrior Academy. It was a life-changing situation to undertake what I understood in the military and how to apply it to a business, which I didn't know when I was doing the Kamikaze Woodworks.
Yeah.
And to now have that basics was able to get me to the right steps. Then I got invited to the business shower, and to go and for the first time ever pitching, to be selected in the next top 3 round, and losing on a technicality, because whenever a guy, Luke Siminar creates an e-learning platform for the blind, kind of can't compete against that when you got chocolate crayons.
It's pretty tough. And Luke did a great job when he came up with Inclusive, and you were definitely, listen, I don't want to say that you were fighting out of your weight class, because you're not, Frank, and you're still here, and you're still chugging along, and you're doing an absolutely tremendous job. And moreover, you're a tremendous example to other veteran entrepreneurs. You're always here. You always have on a brave face. You're always positive. And you just, you're about this action. And I have such a great deal of respect for how you present the brand and how you present yourself. But yeah, it's tough to go up against Luke Siminar. But, like I said, you're still here and you're still kicking and you're doing fantastic work.
If it wasn't for receiving the $10,000 grant in June of 21, we would have became a statistic of COVID.
Yeah.
Warrior Rising is the reason we did not become that statistic.
Man, that's awesome.
And we were able to go nationwide shipping, to now on our second year of nationwide shipping to literally triple the year before and have 193,595 in gross sales.
Oh man, that's amazing.
And in the process of rebranding to now being called Mill Treats.
Yeah. Fantastic. So tell me what's the future look like for you? What are your hopes for Crayons Ready-to-Eat or Mill Treats, and kind of what's the way forward for you?
To be the ultimate education and connection business, a company that tells the story and the history of the military through high quality beverages and treats.
Nice.
And by 2029 for us to be a $10 million company.
Let's go. Let's go. I love that. You know what I like about that? You were specific. You know what I mean? I love it when people have some people are just like, I don't know, man, I want to be rich. You know what I mean? Like, no, you have a specific goal in mind, and it's clear that you've put some thought into it. I ask this to all my guests, right? What is a piece of literature, a podcast, an educational outlet, anything that's helped you along your way that you'd like to share with everybody that's kind of tuning in right now, that might help them the same way that you've been helped along your business journey, your entrepreneurial journey?
I would say the one book that ultimately helped me make a change is it took effect for me in June of this year.
Yeah.
I actually applied what I had done in that book because I was on the verge of, I quit the day job and had to make a decision, and I decided to quit the job and continue and grow the company. And I traveled the country.
Yeah.
I've been traveling the country for the last 9 months.
I remember when you were telling me about how you were going to quit your day job, and I was like, let's go.
And that was because of a book by Matthew McConaughey called Green Lights.
Really? Matthew McConaughey.
Yep.
Listen, hey, I love that guy's work. True Detective season 1 is the best season of television that's ever been produced. It changed my entire life. I've watched it no less than 4 times. So very cool resource. What about, what is a piece of advice that you would give up and coming veteran entrepreneurs? And what's interesting about this is you actively coach and mentor in the organization, which, by the way, we cannot thank you enough for that.
You're welcome.
You are an ambassador to this organization. I think you're a tremendous asset, not just to Warrior Rising, but to all the veteran entrepreneurs, both past, present, and future, that are participating in our programs. But what is a piece of advice that you would give a veteran entrepreneur just starting off on their journey? Or moreover, if you could go back about 3 to 5 years, what's a piece of advice you'd give yourself?
Have the willingness to not be afraid to fail. And I now embrace that, because for me, fail is first attempt in learning.
Yeah.
And understanding that you're going to get no's.
Yeah.
You're going to get rejections.
Yeah.
But no means no at that time.
Yeah.
No means no for that situation, but it also means next opportunity.
Yeah. And I think that's such a powerful piece of information. And I think, the comfort blanket of having a 9-to-5 is you don't necessarily have to encounter or face failure on a daily basis. But as an entrepreneur, I think we all know, everybody that started their own business, struck out on their own, quit their day job to start something or to embark on a journey that they were passionate about, right? And trying to monetize that passion, sometimes it's terrifying, and you will fail over and over and over again. And I tell people all the time, one of my superpowers is not only am I not afraid to fail, I'm not afraid to fail in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
I am not afraid to fail in front of people. I will do it over and over again. And because, if I fail in front of people 100 times, it doesn't matter, because when I win in front of them, it makes up for it and then some, right?
Yep.
The feeling of being on the podium, to see people clapping for you, it just is irreplaceable. And the unfortunate thing is you're never going to get that in the 9-to-5, but you just got to be willing to fall on your face once or twice in front of folks to really make it happen. And I applaud you for being willing to fail in front of others, because if you hadn't have been willing to do that, you wouldn't be where you are today. Frank, how can people learn more about you, learn more about your brand? Tell us where we can reach out to you on social. Where can we buy your shit?
It's simple. Milltreats.com.
Okay.
MILTREATS.com.
Nice.
And you can find us on social media at Milltreats or at Crayons Ready-to-Eat. And if you want to get a hold of me, just search for Frank Manteau and do it as Plateau, and I'm going to let you figure out how that's spelled.
Yeah. All right. Fantastic. Well, Frank, listen, I can't thank you enough for taking an opportunity to share a small portion of your story with not just me, but the rest of the Warrior Rising tribe. For those of us that are listening and tuning in, if you want to learn more about the Warrior Rising programs, you can go over to or email us at programming@warriorrising.org. If you want to sign up for our programs, you can do so right through our website, warriorrising.org. And of course, if you want to get updates real time and see what we're up to, you can always check us out on social media at We Are Warrior Rising. We can't thank you enough for listening today. Frank, thank you so much again for being part of the podcast and for sharing your story with us.
It's a pleasure to be here. And one word's last of advice, just show up.
Yeah, just keep showing up, right?
Yep.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Ciao.